Hello again, I'm Doug Smith. This is the 9 May 2014 edition of Portsmouth This Week, the voice of Portsmouth Town Hall. Our special guests today are from the Portsmouth Historical Society. We've got Carolyn Nelson, who's the Vice President in charge of programs and speakers. She works at Newark. She got some time off today to come down and join us. Lives in Jamestown with her husband, Kurt. Welcome, Carolyn.
Thank you.
And also I'd like to welcome another person back from the Historical Society, Gloria Schmidt. Gloria is a director of the Historical Society and maintains the website and does all kind of other stuff. We'll get into that as we go along, but I'm glad both of you guys are here to talk about something I think is very important to our community, and that's our history.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, thank you.
And again, I mentioned again, anytime you want to come on in the future, you got something to talk about, events coming up, let us know. We can at least talk about them for you.
Mm-hmm.
Let me go back to the basics here. When were you founded as a historical society, and what is your mission? What are you supposed to do?
We were founded in 1936 as part of the 300th celebration for the town of Portsmouth.
Yes.
So when the town was celebrating the 300th, they created the Historical Society out of that. Our first building, which is our headquarters building, was donated to us in the 1940s. The schoolhouse was donated to us in, I believe, 1952, and then the town hall building was donated to us in 1975. And we basically just work to preserve Portsmouth's history, tell the story of the people that have come and gone, and the stories of how we used to live, and right up to the current day. You know, we do try to preserve recent history,
I've been to a
too.
couple of events down there that you do during the year, and I think everybody should go at least once, because you probably go more than once. But it actually is fairly recent then. I mean, 75 years ago doesn't seem like that long ago for preserving the history. It goes all the way back to 375 years.
Well, I think for a long time things were done as island-wide with the Newport Historical Society, and I think with the 300th celebration, Portsmouth was kind of looking on its own. And the other thing as part of our mission is to be a resource for people who are looking for information on Portsmouth history. We certainly get a lot of contacts from people who are researching their Portsmouth roots and Portsmouth topics and things like that. We're trying to be a resource place as well.
Yeah, I was quite amazed during the 375th to see people that were coming back here that could trace their ancestors all the way back to the founders.
Yes.
You know, right here in Portsmouth. Amazing stuff. If people want to find out more about what you do and how you do it, probably the website would be the best place for that. It's a very good website, very informative, easy to navigate. I recommend people go to it, and people will see it up there on the screen at some point. How about members? How many members do you have, and are you looking for more?
We've probably got about 125 members now. We had a huge swell of new members last year as part of our 75th and the town's 375th.
Wow,
we got a lot of publicity both from the 375th community and from the Portsmouth Times. They wrote a fantastic article about us at that point, and we probably got 12 to 15 new members last year, which is a really big year for us, and we're hoping to continue that going forward.
Yeah, one of the things we'll talk about in a second is funding, because that's important to keep all these buildings up and a bunch of other things. I think people will be pleasantly surprised when they see how inexpensive it is to join and become a member of this. By the way, I owe one of you guys some money. I got a late bill for my membership the other day.
But just come to the annual meeting and you can pay then.
Yeah. Okay. Well, when is the annual meeting? Are you going to talk about that?
The annual meeting is June 16th, 7 o'clock. And at that particular meeting, we vote on board members and directors and conduct any business prior. Minutes from last year's meeting are read, and the annual treasurer's report is given. And then after that, we're going to have Frank Gribb tell us about his book, Hidden History of Rhode Island in the Civil War. He spoke to us 2 years ago when his previous book came out, and it was really well received.
Yes.
So
that's good.
I'm sure this one will be.
Do you folks do those kind of lectures? I know you kind of help do one at the library, McBurney's book on.
We do at least 2 or 3 a year.
Yeah, about 2 a year.
Yeah, and they've tended to be, one of our focuses of again, on topics of interest to people with Portsmouth or Rhode Island history. And we brought some really good speakers in, and they're free. There's no charge for coming to the speakers, and I think that's an important function that we have.
Yeah, and probably the library is a good place to hold it, although it's limited in who you can accommodate.
The library was a really good place for us to turn to. Our building is not open during the winter, and so our partnership with the library, and we can talk about that later, has been a very important thing. I think we work well with the library, and last year we had a number of genealogical talks and things like that at the library. So I think that it's we have things at our main building, but we've also branched out. We did things with the Portuguese American Citizens Club last year. We do other things and branch out as well.
Community theater as well.
Definitely.
Yep.
My favorite. Yeah. I guess, there's two kinds of membership. One is essentially you pay the annual dues and you're a member, but what about people who actually want to volunteer? There's a lot of work required in all this. So what kind of jobs do volunteers do in your organization?
We're all volunteers. There's nobody that's paid anything, and people do all sorts of things. We have a graduate student that's transcribing some of our older documents, and he can do that at home and send that to us. We have people who work on special events. You can talk about the Harvest Social later on. That's our biggest fundraiser activity. We have people that help us out with exhibits and other things. We have a lot of needs. So there are a lot of things not being done that we'd love to have volunteers come and help us with.
Okay, so it's not just throwing money at this. You also need boots on the ground.
We need bodies, yeah.
We do.
I would think there'd be a lot of people that would love to get involved in, for example, genealogy and other stuff, if nothing else for their own family. But but we have such a fascinating group of people here in Portsmouth that's kind of interesting.
We do, and there are a lot of things of preparation. We have a lot of our documents that have been digitized, and the Portsmouth Free Public Library has copies of those, so people can use them. But we have other documents that haven't been even sorted or put into document folders, and if someone's interested in that, just trying to do that. Or we have a lot of permanent exhibits that need refreshing. They need new labels. They need people to work with them. We have images that really need to be prepared so that they can go into your Portsmouth History digitization program.
Right.
So there's a lot of preparation work that needs to be done so we can make these things more accessible. And that's always our aim. Having them locked up in our building is not what we're about.
Right.
Yeah.
We're very proud of our Portsmouth history. We want people to have access to what we have. We want to preserve what we have.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And we need bodies too as docents.
Definitely.
We're open every Sunday, Memorial Day, through Columbus Day from 2 to 4. And we can't do that without, we have 2 people to sit at the museum just to say, hi, this is what our exhibit is this year, these are our buildings, and we do a docent training program now every year. This is our 3rd year, I think, that we've done that. And that's going to be on Saturday, May 17th, if anyone's interested.
Okay, that's coming up pretty soon.
Yeah.
No, but anyone who wants to docent can work with a docent that already is familiar.
So they could
Yeah.
probably do
So
it.
they can,
come in any
yeah,
time of the
we
year.
have a docent manual, and we have materials that come out on each of the new exhibits. So it really is a good way for someone to come in, even if it's only one Sunday. I think they'll find that it's fun, and people come in and you get to talking about things and talking with them about Portsmouth, and I think it's a very enjoyable way to spend a couple of hours on a Sunday, and it's not a burden. Yeah, people sign up for when's convenient for them, and I think you learn a lot about the museum and Portsmouth history just by volunteering to do that.
And you're helping the community out, which
Yeah.
is, so it's a plus win-win thing all around.
Yep.
How do people, who should they contact? If somebody is watching this program says, geez, I might be interested in doing some of that, who should they contact? Or what do they do?
Ann Wagner is in charge of docent training, but on our website we have a link for our email address, which is
so they can email?
portsmouthhistorical@yahoo.com, and our curator, Marge Webster, kind of filters through all those emails, and then either she answers the question herself or she forwards it on to whoever it needs to go to.
Okay, so, I'm
if,
sorry.
And if you leave a comment on the website, then it goes to me, and then I can relay it to whoever needs that information too.
Okay, now, in addition to the website, I know there's nobody there to answer the phone, but is there an answering machine on the phone?
There is.
So you can call the number. What is the number?
That's
Infrequently used.
infrequently used, 683-9178.
9178. Okay, 683-9178, or the internet. Go online and go on your website. Let's talk about the buildings
Yes.
that you have. Could you explain where they are, why they're where they are, and what they are?
Okay. We have a picture here. That's the inside of our main building. And this is, it looks like a church because it was. Our main building was the Christian Union Church. Next year we're going to celebrate the 150th anniversary of the church.
Wow.
So we're going to focus a lot about the church history because it's a very interesting church. But the building came to us because after World War I and the membership of the church really dwindled. And they wanted it left to an educational purpose. And so the members of the Christian Union Church got permission to give the building to the Historical Society, which was newly formed at that time. So that came into our care, and it does require quite a bit of care to keep it, but it's a beautiful building, and when we have our membership meetings and our talks and things like that, it is inside this church hall. And like in a lot of older church buildings, upstairs is the church, downstairs was the community area, and that's where our museum is located, on that downstairs.
Okay, now that building was originally there then, on that property?
It was.
There was a church before it, from about 1624 or so. It was a smaller church. It was moved away, and this larger church. We have a lot of good church records, so we know a lot about the congregation and when things were built and how they were built. And so we have a lot of background on the building itself.
Okay, now what about the schoolhouse? Tell me about that one.
Okay. The
Or
schoolhouse.
let me let you go through your order
Yeah.
here.
The schoolhouse is from 1725. 1725.
25, yeah, they authorized it in 1716, sorry.
You want to talk about it?
Oh, I can, yeah. The location that it's on right now is actually about its third location. It started out kind of the other end of Union Street towards West Main, and it was the southernmost schoolhouse. There was a northernmost schoolhouse. We actually think it was just up the street, around Child Street area. We're not exactly sure where it was. So back then, all schools were within walking distance of the children, and it was moved around 1800 to West Main and Union Street, and then it was there until about 1850. And then in 1863, the school sold the southernmost schoolhouse, and it was moved to Lakeside Farm. And then in the 1950s, actually 1952, it was donated to the Historical Society. So then it was moved the rest of the way up Union Street. Yeah. And we have when you go into the building, there's actually only one desk that's still original, along with the top of a teacher's desk is original. The rest of the fixed desks were done as part of the restoration of the building, and then we've got a couple of other movable desks from some of the other one-room schoolhouses throughout town.
All of the desks there come from some of the one-room schools, and we have some other artifacts like the bells from Bristol Ferry School, and we have lunch pails in the beginning.
Yeah,
so
I think every kid in Portsmouth should have to go through this to see what it was like.
But it's a very special building. It's probably about the oldest one-room schoolhouse still in existence, and it, you know, there's an older one, but that was on Spanish territory, so we're not sure whether that qualifies as the oldest. But this is 1725.
Spanish territory?
Well, it was in Florida.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was in St. Augustine.
I didn't think we had any Spanish
No, but when it was when it was started,
Right.
yeah. But this is we have a lot of history on it. We have the records from the town when they decided to build it, and we have a lot of background on it. So there's quite a process involved.
I went through. Went to one of the events you had a couple of years ago where you go through the different events and people like you were dressed up in the period costumes, and I was fascinated by the school. I mean, it's the size of a bedroom, and they had like 20, 30 kids at this school.
Yeah.
So, you know, stop crying about how bad your school is when you look at this place. Okay, anything, you have anything on the inside of that by any chance? On a photo?
I don't with me,
Okay.
no. And what I have from the Old Town Hall is my husband's favorite thing.
Oh, yeah, this is great.
Inside the Old Town Hall, we have a lot of farm equipment. We have vehicles, including the Portsmouth mail wagon that was our entry into the parade last year for the 375th. And this was something that has been newly returned to us. It was the horse-drawn hearse that went with the church. And we have all the church records on. It was built in Newport. And as you can see, it is in much need of restoration. And my husband would really like some helpers in just stabilizing it and just getting the process going of preserving it. We've talked to people at the Preservation Society about it and how to go about it and what the materials were in it. So we have a start, but again, people interested in restoring something like this, you know, we want to basically stabilize it. We don't want to paint it shiny black, but we want to keep it from deteriorating. But it is a very special item, and people either love it or they don't want to go anywhere near it.
Oh, yeah, no, it's really cool. And I remember your husband was the docent or whatever at that stage, and he was explaining how they slid the bodies, the caskets in and out. Fascinating stuff, and it's really beautiful. It really deserves preservation. So yeah, I hope we can find some people that would be willing to help you out. I'll have to give them a call because I think this would be cool.
We have some really interesting farm tools that are associated. If someone is into farm tools, we'd love to have a catalog of what we have. And so I think basically with volunteering is, if you're interested in images and photography, we have that. If you're interested in tools, we have that. If you're interested in clothing, we have that. If, you know, whatever, if you're interested in fundraising, whatever your interest is, we need it.
You have needs, okay.
We have need it. So go, you know, so go with what you need. You're never going to be pressed into a job you don't want to do.
Great. What's next in your magic slideshow here?
Well, what's next is something that is that we're just appreciating and understanding.
Okay.
And this has been on our back wall for some time, and I never really appreciated it. It's a portrait, and this year we're doing our exhibit on the theme of lost to time. And it's places and businesses and social gatherings that have been lost to Portsmouth over the last 100 years. And it's businesses like NATO's Pharmacy, which a lot of people might remember,
Sure.
Things on the Island Park. And one of the things that we're just discovering as we do the research is about a special place in Bristol Ferry called Social Studio. We in Portsmouth have been talking about wanting an art center. This was an art center. And the lady who started that painted that portrait. Her name was Sarah Eddy. And the more we find out about her, she painted portraits of Susan B. Anthony that are at the National Portrait Gallery and Frederick Douglass. So she was quite a woman. And I think as we do the exhibits and learn more about what we have, we learn about some very special parts of Portsmouth history that nobody knows about.
And she was an artist that lived down there by
She lived there
the
for
Bristol Ferry
40 years.
landing area.
She
down
did.
there. Okay, geez, that's great.
Yeah.
The Social Studio, I look forward to seeing more of that.
Yeah.
We need to talk very briefly about funding, because I know funding's an issue for all nonprofits. Where do you get your funding from, and how can we help?
Our primary source of funding is the membership dues that people pay to belong to the society. And as part of becoming a member to the society, you receive newsletters, probably about 4 or 5 a year. They don't go out on a specific schedule other than to announce upcoming events and when we have a lot of things to share with the community. So you will get advance notification of events that we have coming up, and as well as free copies if you wanted to make copies of stuff, documents at our headquarters. We also have our fundraiser, the Harvest Social, in October, third Sunday. 19 October should be the date for this year. We're still working on all of the details. We tried something new last year, which was the silent auction and some family type events this year. That worked out really well. Much better than we had anticipated. We really weren't sure. We hadn't done anything like it before. And it beat our yard sale, and that had been our primary fundraiser for many years, but it really just wasn't bringing in the kind of funds.
I guess Mike Pagliarani ran that for you, right?
Certainly
He did.
He was on our 375th committee.
Yep, he's going to head up that committee again for this. So we really got to get ramping up with.
You get any
how
money
we
from the town, or from the state, or from grants, or from historical things?
We do get a grant from the town each year. We do get a state legislative grant periodically. It's done at the discretion of the legislator, so they'll pick different organizations throughout the year. One year we got a grant from Walmart. We were doing an education exhibit on the schoolhouse, and when we went there for supplies, they said, "Oh, we give grants for educational type purposes." So we got a grant from them for that. Champlain Foundations we've gone to for grants, primarily for upgrades to the building. Most recently, the upgrades we had to do because of the new restrictions. We fall under the same category as a nightclub because we can hold so many people.
Oh yeah, that's
Because we
right.
can
Because
hold
they
Upstairs,
had
yeah,
to
we could hold 200.
adhere to the
so-
fire code and all that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
so we had to do a lot of stuff to the building
bet.
to bring it up to code.
Okay, but the best thing we can do is have people join,
Yep.
maybe
And support our fundraisers.
and
by-
maybe contact their political friends and ask them to
Yeah,
come up with more grants.
and especially if there are people that are skilled at grant writing, we would especially appreciate that, because
Yeah.
that would be something that would really help us a great deal.
Yeah,
Okay, we'll have
so
to work on that.
Yeah.
We need that in the town
that isn't an
generally.
area we're
Yeah.
lacking in right now.
Yeah.
What do you have upcoming? I know you got stuff. You guys have events, and they go on all the time. I know you're constantly changing the exhibit at the library, and we hope to help embellish that with this library project.
Well, last year's exhibit, a portion of that is at the library. And when this exhibit of Lost to Time closes our doors in October, again, it will be moved there.
Okay.
So, we're doing that. We'll have other things coming. You have another speaker coming?
Yep, we have on June 16th at our annual meeting, I already mentioned Frank Gribb. And then in August, on August 18th, we'll have a gentleman named Robert Giak. I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name. He wrote a book called Historic Rhode Island Farms. And it just came out last year. He's written a few other books about historic taverns and the Narragansetts. So he's going to come talk to us about historic Rhode Island farms. And both of those events will be talks by the author, followed by book sales and book signings, and then refreshments. We give refreshments downstairs.
Okay, great. I've often wondered if there's any way you could videotape any of these for future reference or something, but maybe it's...
We could if we had someone who volunteered to videotape for us.
Okay, so there you go. We need some volunteers.
I could see YouTube, but it would be at the speaker's discretion too.
Yeah,
I realize that there may be some issues there.
Yeah.
But, you know, I remember we had Monique Lemaire give a talk about Ann Hutchinson, the theology part in the Historical Society. I thought it was great. You know, and it was a pretty full house too, as I recall.
Yeah, we've had a wide variety of topics. So try to do local, Portsmouth, and then kind of broaden out to Rhode Island or history in general as we need to.
I should explain that there's a major connection between Historical Society and this library project because it's all about Portsmouth history. And there's a library member, it's either you or Ann or both, on this little subcommittee we have that's...
It probably will be me, and has been, but as
well,
I'm
like I say, both of you are certainly in the
Yes.
know about everything. And the point there is to, in addition to making this stuff available for people, it's also to protect it. Because once it's digitized, it could be on several places, and it's not going to burn up.
Yeah.
That's the one concern I have, by the way, about your place. So we need to kind of bring this stuff together, get it digitized, which protects it at least, and then it also makes it more accessible to people. But that's kind of what this Portsmouth Library History Project, you guys are an intimate part of that.
Yeah, and as I said, the library is just a natural association for us, and we've been very blessed with the reception that we have with the library.
Yeah, the library is a major part of our 375th too, as you know. You were coming to meetings
Yep.
there every couple of weeks. The one thing that I really enjoyed, and it was 2 years ago now, was this thing you did where you were dressed up outside. You were, I can't remember, probably a brown or something, and then Richard was dressed up as another Brown.
He was John Brown.
John Brown.
Who was the one who worked on the hearse and got the hearse.
Well, are you going to do anything like that again? That was so much fun.
We might, and I think that that's something that we'll talk to the Portsmouth Community Theater about, because they've been very good about coming in and portraying historical characters for us.
I would love to see that. Of course, you know that Rebecca Cornell murder play put on there.
Yes.
Because I think it's so great. Well, anything like that you need more publicity for, please let us know on this program, and we can certainly mention it and for people that watch this. And as you know, this goes on YouTube, so you can put a link to this on your website.
I will. We have a Facebook page, so like us on Facebook, and I'll certainly link it on Facebook. And the Facebook is a way of getting to know what's coming up, because I frequently put things on it. So that's good help.
Okay, so we want to leave people, I guess, with the idea that you need volunteers, both the kind that want to work and do things, and there's a lot of different tasks that need doing, and also for the funds for the membership. So please come out there and join these folks. Thank you very much for coming in today.
Thank
Really
you.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
And that's all for me. We'll see you in the next edition of Portsmouth This Week.
Sandy Woods Farm is an arts and agricultural community in Tiverton, Rhode Island. There's a lot going on at Sandy Woods. We have art, music, sustainable agriculture, community gardening, classes and workshops. Please check us out on the web and come see us at any time. If you have any questions or would like to volunteer, you can call 401-241-7349.